Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Susan and Terry. Today, I'm going to show you how to do a really fun technique. Oh, all my rhinestones are stuck to my fingers. Um, Using an intricate die, the blending brushes, and a couple different inks. So it's kind of looking washed out here in the camera, but we're going to go kind of kind of ombre from one corner to the other, light pink to a darker pink. So before I get started, last week during the live giveaway, this card went out to Irene, and the one for the can't talk today. The one for the replays is going out to Susan. So congratulations, Susan. Congratulations, Irene. And let me go ahead introduce myself. I'm Donna Goodwin. I'm with Winged Horse Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Brookings, South Dakota. If you're watching me live, welcome. And if you're watching on the replay, thank you for coming back and watching me. And I am going to switch cameras and get started so that we can get going on this fun card. I do need to there we go. Takes me a moment. I'm still learning this new platform. So here's a better look at this card. And I'm using the intricate die. I did have more rhinestones here, but they stuck to my fingers. And so I have pre-cut this out just to make it easier. And we're going to do some coloring on it. And I'm going to show you a few techniques with that. And it simply says, "You matter to so many. May the good you do come back to you." So I just thought those were some nice sentiments because you could send this for a lot of different occasions. So let's show you. Let me show you what I started with. I am still working with the Fancy Flora suite, which comes with 2 stamp sets and 2 dies. Thank you, Susan. The nice thing that what they've started doing, before you always had to try and remember what was the name of the dies that go with that stamp set. Well, now they've named them the same. So the dies that go with this two-tone Flora are called two-tone Flora, which is really, really nice that we can that they can do that for us. And then this one has a lot of nice sentiments, and the dies are called something fancy. So I'm going to set this aside because I already have my stamps mounted. And the die that we're going to use from this is this really big, intricate die. And so you will need the big die cutting machine rather than the mini. Like I said, I've already done it. And then what I also did to give it a finished edge around this side is I brought in the stitched rectangles, and I used this largest die here, which gives it a nice little frame around the card. So I cut a piece that's 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2. Then I carefully laid this in the center, used a bit of washi tape to hold it down while I cut it so that it would stay in the center and give me a nice frame. So the cardstock pieces that you'll need, and it should be in the description. If not, I'll edit it after the video and add them in. I'm using basic black because I really love how black and pink look together. 5 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to bring in my bone folder and give that a nice good crease. And then we're going to set it aside. We'll come back to it when we put our card together. Like I said, I die cut out this with the stitched, oh, come on camera, focus. Doesn't seem to want to really focus. When it's cloudy out, sometimes it's hard for me to get good lighting, but it has stitched just on this side. I put adhesive sheets on the back of it before I die cut it so that I won't have to try and put a nice thin bead of glue and not get glue coming out everywhere. And then, of course, this piece that came out of the center I can use on another card, and it has adhesive, so it'll be real easy to add. So we'll set that one aside. I did cut this one out in advance. And what I did is I put adhesive sheet on the back of this as well. So when you lay and I cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches so that I would get a nice good piece. And what you're going to want to do when you put an adhesive on it, because that just makes it easier to put on the front of your card, is you're going to want to run it back and forth through your machine several times. But I also took a piece of just plain, it was a much bigger piece of cardstock, and I put it underneath the bottom cutting plate. So you have your platforms and however many pieces that go with it, depending on what machine you're using. I put this down, put my clear cutting plate, put this in my die in, put my next cutting plate on top of that. It was really tight going through, but it just makes all these pieces come out nice and easily. So I have another piece that measures the exact same measurement, and you'll understand why here in just a moment. And then I have a piece of basic white that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches for the inside. And then I have a piece of white for my sentiment in the front. I believe this is 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch by 2 1/4 inches. So this one is 7/8 of an inch by probably, I don't know, about 3 1/2, but most of it's going to get cut off into this little notch here. So I'm going to set these aside. We'll come back to those in a bit, but let's do the fun part. So normally I'm going to bring in the stamp apparatus, and I'm going to take the plate off and put it away. And normally we would have a big piece of grid paper or scrap paper, and we'd tape this down with washi tape, and then we'd work on it. Well, what about, and then you end up with this nice pretty pattern all over your scrap paper. Well, what if, I am going to bring in a new sheet to protect it. What if we use our stamp apparatus for something other than stamping sentiments? So I want to start with my light color, so I think, and I'm right-handed, so I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to put these two pieces together, and I'm going to use a magnet to hold them in place. Now I'm actually going to slide them down all the way to this edge here. And that'll hold it in place while we work with our blending brush. And by putting a piece of cardstock underneath it, we're going to end up with another piece that we can use on another card. So I chose 3 pinks. If you're watching us on replay, we're working on pretty little card. Don't save your questions to the end. Go ahead and put them in now with a question when your question comes up to you. I'm starting with Flirty Flamingo, Polished Pink, and Melon Mambo. So some nice bright colors. And some nice pretty pinks. I'm going to take my blending brush. I'm going to kind of move these things around up here. And I'm just going to drag it across and pick up some ink. And it comes on pretty subtly. And I'm going to start at this corner up here, and I'm just going to go over it. And it goes on pretty light at first, but you just keep adding more color till you get it the way you want. And I don't want to come, I think I want to go kind of a little bit of an arc here. But you could do it any way you want. And so we're focusing kind of on the top piece, but at the same time, I'm pushing a little bit harder. Oh, I pushed really hard there. I'm pushing a little bit harder because I also want to get this pattern down here underneath. I think I want a little bit more of the lighter Flirty Flamingo here on the top than I had on the other card. Let's see if I can shift a bit. But I want to get down in those spaces so that I have this pretty piece to work with for another card. And I'm going to shift my magnet while not letting my pieces shift from each other. And then to clean this off, not that I need to clean off because I'm going light to dark. That's why I chose it. I just don't want to get too much of that. And you can see the color kind of comes off here as I rub it off. And I'm going to go up to the next darker color. And I'm going to start coming in with that one. Now this polished pink is really, really bright, so I'm going to shift all this up again. And again, we want to get into those creases, and I'm kind of going a little bit over the petal or Flirty Flamingo. You know, this platform tells me that I have 7 of you out here watching me, and I only have 2 people making comments. Now, is it that intense that everybody is, oh, I have 5 of you, sorry. I have 5 of you out here. Is it that intense that you're so engrossed that you can't think of anything to say? Okay, so you see we're getting some nice ombre color going in here. I'm going to clean up some of this polished pink off before moving on to the Melon Mambo, but my magnet's in the way, so I need to carefully hold these in place, switch the magnet to up here, and now I can work on this other side. But what a great additional way to use your Stamparatus, or if you're using a MISTI or some other stamp positioner. And there's lots of different things you can use it for, but here's just one more. And I think I'm happy with this, with the way it turned out. So I'm actually going to set those up out of the way. When I lift my magnet, and I take these 2 pieces apart, I have the piece we're going to use today, and I have another piece I can use on another card. By the way, check back on Friday. I'll be posting a video, something fun I'm going to do with this leftover piece. And that'll be on YouTube and Facebook. I like how you're blending once and we'll end up with 2. Exactly. Save us time. Blend once, get 2 cards. That's right, Lori. Oh, you know, I'm supposed to do this. There we go. I can show what Lori had to say so that you can all read it. So, and yes, Terry, it's a great use of any kind of stamp positioner. So we'll set this piece aside. We have this piece to work with. I am going to go ahead and stamp these sentiments so I can then close up my ink pads. And here's our inside. And then I'll start assembly. So for the inside, I chose May the Good Come Back to You, and I'm just going to use Memento Black. I could use StazOn if I wanted it really, and you know, let's do that. Let's switch this to StazOn ink because this is a rubber stamp, so I can use StazOn ink. You don't want to use StazOn ink on your photopolymers because StazOn ink requires a special cleaner, and that special cleaner has chemicals in it that react to the chemicals in the photopolymer, and then your photopolymer turns to mush. So I think I'm going to stamp up here in the left corner. Try to do this without getting my head in the way. And this just gives us a little bit better black. Good morning, Mary. It doesn't matter that you missed the first part because you can always go back to replay. But basically what I did is I laid this on top of another piece of cardstock, used my Stamparatus to hold everything in place, and this way I'm going to end up with 2 cards while only doing that messy part once. I'll push that aside. Let's bring in a few flowers. So I think for the background piece, I'll use Flirty Flamingo. Looks like I used polished pink the last time. Polished pink is really intense. So I am going to Photopolymer tends to stick to your ink pads too. So I'm going to stamp off with that one and then stamp a flower. I'm just going to move them around. And then I'm going to bring in that deeper pink, that melon mambo, for my detail. Now you can see there's a little V here. Stop long enough for the camera to focus. There's this little V. There's also a little V in here. And while sometimes you can get lucky and get them lined up perfectly, they don't need to be lined up perfectly because after all, it's a flower. There we go. That one's not lined up perfectly, so I'll bring it up close to the camera here in a bit. I'm going to close these up and get them out of the way before I make a mess. Okay, give the camera a chance to focus here for a minute. So this one I didn't do too bad. It's not perfect. This one, it looks like I got it on there right on the money. This one, not so much, but they all still look really lovely the way they are. So there's our inside. Let's bring in our card base and put the inside in, and then we'll work on the front. And do remember to put a Q in front of your questions. You can ask your questions throughout the live, and then we'll do questions and answers at the end, right before we do the giveaway. So there's the inside. Now for the front, I'm actually going to trim this down a bit so that it does, because sometimes I can't always get a perfect alignment. So when I'm putting this one on top of the other, so I'm just going to come in and I'm going to trim off just a smidge from the edges. All 4 edges. I'm just going to trim off just a tiny little smidge. That might have been a bit more than I wanted to, but and what this will do is give it, the black frame, a chance to have something to stick to the edge of the cards, or the front of the card. Oh, I'll just pull that out later. So I'm going to bring in my silicone mat so that I don't get adhesive all over my top. And I'm going to peel off the backing. And I'm actually going to peel off the entire backing. Normally I peel off a corner and do the whole, get it lined up and then pull off the rest. But this time I'm going to pull it all off. Thank you, Deb. Now comes the fun part. Getting this lined up. I'm actually going to flip it over and go this way. Getting this lined up in here. So that I have just a little bit. You notice I'm not pushing down yet. Excuse me, frog in my throat. Just a little bit here. I need to get a little bit closer to this edge. I could have trimmed it just a little bit more probably. And even though I'm right up to the edge here, this has adhesive all over it as well. So then we're going to peel off this adhesive off the back. Get our frame on there good and tight. Because this is an intricate die and it'll be harder to pull this off out from underneath, I'm just going to go ahead and take it all off. Plus it allows me to get to these pieces where if I had this laying down on the card and was trying to pull it out from underneath, I wouldn't be able to get all these little pieces off of the intricate parts of the die. Like this little one here that's being stubborn. Okay. Now we can lay this down. Now this is going to fit totally flush with all four sides of your card. Move that mat so you can see it better. So I'm not going to push real hard. I'm just going to kind of tack it just a bit. Okay, now I can push down hard. And that's where I'm going to use this. It doesn't really move that much on the silicone mat, but I can use it to just add some pressure. You could use a block. And now this is all these little intricate pieces are glued down and they won't lift up and pop up. So I'm going to glue this to my black. It does look like lace, yes. Trying to keep up with all of them here. So Deb says that it looks really good like lace, and it does look like lace. You could use the punch to do this, or you can just take your scissors in here and freehand it. I've been doing it this way for so long, I always forget about the punch. And I'm going to glue this right, don't trust myself. I'm going to glue this right up to the left edge here, right edge. Oh, my other left. And yes, I made it a little long, but now I can use that to just trim in. I can use my white as my guide to trim my black. We'll pop this up with some dimensionals. It's probably overkill on the dimensionals, but they're my favorite accessory. And since I went flush on this side, didn't come in on the black, I can now just go right up next to my frame and put this wherever I like. And you still have that black coming around that way. And then I took some basic rhinestones took my, oh, this is dark sweet sorbet. I probably would have used melon mambo, but that's okay. Pink is pink. And I found for the longest time I was using the paintbrush side to color them. And it really breaks down the nibs. So I was watching Alyssa Tilsner out of Australia, and she uses the pen side. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And it works just as good. And you just simply go around them and on top of them. And then you do however many you need. And then you come back and you put another layer on them. And you can make your rhinestones any color you need for your project. So basic rhinestones are probably one of my favorites because I can color them to make them any color I want. Okay, so let's bring some of these in. And I just like these cluster flowers here, so I'm just going to put a little rhinestone on the inside. Yellow would look nice if you wanted to. I just simply wanted to stay with pink today. See if I can keep those to stay on so they don't come off like these. I'll add them back in. And there you have a really fun card. This is the hardest part, cutting this part out, because you really have to crank it through and really have to, and I would go forward and back several times. Terry has a question. Oh, okay. She must accidentally hit that enter key because I have Q, colon, and nothing after it, but we'll get to that in a moment. And then if you put a piece of cardstock underneath it, you have something you can use. Again, like I said, come back on Friday. I will post, I won't do a live, but I'll post a video of something using this piece. And I think you're really going to like it. So let me switch cameras here. And it is time for questions and answers. So let me scroll back up here to the top and see what we have. Susan really likes this card. Lori had commented she liked how I was blending once and getting 2 projects. Terry had said what a great use of the Stamparatus. Mary missed the first part, but she'll come back and watch it. Deb thinks it's a beautiful card. Good selection. I think she means of my pinks. I know good selection. I think she means of the pinks because Deb loves pink. And let's see. She likes how it looks like lace. Black looks rich. Yes, black looks rich. Deep, deep brown, like an early espresso, a deep espresso brown, coffee espresso brown looks really good. And so does navy, looks really good. Friday's project's actually going to use this piece on navy. So pretty. I love the pink and black together. Yes, Terry, so do I. Lori thinks it's a stunning card. Thank you, Lori. And Deb, what kind of sticky paper did you use? I used Stampin' Up's adhesive sheets. You can buy them in other places too. I just happen, why not buy for myself, right? And what it is, and I don't have a piece here handy, it's on the other side of the room, is it's sticky on both sides. So it's like double-sided tape, except it's a big sheet and you can cut it to whatever size you need. So I had cut it to 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 to go completely underneath the whole piece. And it's great when you're doing any kind of intricate dies, even if you're just doing, let's see, sorry about turning my back to you. Oh, I know there's one here somewhere. Well, this isn't as intricate, but when you have little pieces like this that you need to cut out and you're going to adhere them flat to your card, it makes it much easier if you remember to put adhesive underneath it. That's not as intricate as I was thinking of, but it makes it much easier to adhere to your card because then you don't have to sit here and try to go with the little glue and get glue everywhere. So great question. And Terry, You mentioned basic rhinestones. What is that way you are? Oh, what are they called in the catalog? They're called rhinestone basic jewels in the catalog, and they are on. They are on. Come on. I thought they were on that page. They are on this page. They are on page 142, and they're called Rhinestone Basic Jewels. Mary, how do you clean the silicone pad? Mine looks bad. It depends on what type, how much glue you have on it. I actually have, and I use Undo. I found it in probably Hobby Lobby at one point in time in this nice little jar. I actually have a great big jar that I bought through Amazon, and I kept the little jar. I did buy this originally from Hobby Lobby. I like Undo. You could use Gooby Gone. I like Undo because it's archival, so you can use it where there's photos or anything like that. It costs a little more than Gooby Gone, or you could just simply put it in your kitchen sink and wash it with soap and water. How many different pens do you have? Oh, wow. There are 50 colors in our color collection of the Stampin' Write markers. I have all of those. And then I'm not sure how many different blends we have, but I have all of those as well. And the blends, I call them blends, and they are the alcohol markers, and they come in light and dark. So I don't know, too many. Cool, you're adding it to your list. I'm thinking you're adding the basic rhinestones, Terry, since you asked where I found those. And all right, so I don't see any more questions. So I am going to share my screen, and we'll do our, oh, wrong way, this way. And we'll do our drawing here. Okay, are you ready? We can remove that one. And we can remove that. Okay. Here we go. Oops, it stopped. Why did it do that? There it goes. Lori, congratulations, Lori. So Lori's going to get this. Oh, let's switch here. Remove. Turn this one off. Lori's going to get this card. So I'll make sure it goes out in the post today to you, Lori. And last week, remember, I had said that the card was in the post. And Susan, yours is already out in the post waiting to be picked up. Lori's will go out in the post ready to pick up. I totally forgot last week that it was a holiday. That's what happens when you work for yourself in your own home. However, it did go out on Tuesday, so that's great. I hope you have a wonderful week, everyone. Please do come back Friday and look at what I do with this piece. And then I will be live again next Monday, same time, same places, YouTube and Facebook, 10 o'clock Central Time, every Monday. You know, like you can set your clock by me, right? Well, almost. And we have one more new comment in here. Let's see. Oh, you're welcome, Lori. So I am going to go ahead and sign off for this week. Hope you have a wonderful week. I think we're supposed to have a little bit of sunshine here sometime this week. Today's kind of a cloudy day, but it's warmer, so that's a good thing, I guess. So stay safe, everyone. Stay warm if you're in the winter months, and if you're somewhere where it's nice and warm, send us some of that warmth and sunshine, all right? Happy trails, everyone.